So this weekend we had a couple of different events. Most of these were skirmishes. They're small events. We had some China events, also smaller. But this is kind of where we're at. We're in a lull period, so this is kind of what you're going to get fed for the next couple of weeks is these smaller events.
Well, we'll have the
And
Charlie's one next week, right?
yeah, we'll have Charlie's and
The
we'll have PPG next week. And I'll talk about those in a little bit here. But yes, this is for right now. We've got some small events, but so let's talk about some thoughts from this weekend's meta, kind of what we're seeing. And these skirmishes you kind of have to take with a grain of salt. They're very small. Typically, they're more casual in nature. So I'm not going to spend too much time talking about these. This one was won by Draven. Let's talk about the SCG. This is the important one because this was the arguably the biggest and most competitive event. A little smaller than some of the SCGs we've seen to date, but I think these will start getting smaller as official events become more frequent. It's also hard to compete when there's 25K unofficials. So I think SCGs.
Yeah, certainly nothing's beating Charlie's, like as far as unofficial events, I'd say.
So let's start with the first place list. Our boy, he was supposed to be here tonight, but he caught the plague. He has no voice and he's dying.
Yeah,
so
everybody's catching the con flu, whether it was at Vegas or this SCG event.
Pour one out for our boy Rossum. He's currently trying to survive the flu. So yeah, unfortunate, but it is what it is. So we're gonna get right into it. So this is kind of the hot new list. He played this at Vegas last week, and it's a list that's really been gaining popularity these last couple weeks. I think there was an article put out on it today as well. But yeah, here it is. This is the Detonate. This is the Detonate list for Miracles. And Daniel will talk a little bit more about this list because he's played it more. He played it at his skirmishes this weekend because he is a fucking diabolical degenerate who will bring Miracles to his 12-man skirmish just to let them know what's up.
Whoa. It was not a 12-man skirmish. It was an 8-man skirmish.
Oh, 8-man skirmish. Yes, I'm sure they were very pleased to
listen.
The Challenger TCG guy's here with his Miracles deck. And here I am with my Lux Control.
Twitter told me to play BMO, and I was going to do it. However, I missed the skirmish that was local, and I was not about to drive an hour each way to play fucking BMO. That's just not happening. I'm gonna win I'm gonna win my buy. If I'm gonna drive an hour each way, I'm gonna win my buy.
Yeah, sure. Whatever you say, bud. Whatever you got to tell yourself. But yeah, so maybe you can talk a little bit about the deck and its differences from the traditional Miracles that we know and love, and what makes this deck kind of different.
Yeah. So one thing that you should immediately notice is we're on a lot less dudes than the version that got top 4 in Las Vegas. We've mostly replaced the dudes with just a bunch of different cards that say draw cards. Like you've got Treasure Trove, you've got Detonate. To facilitate the fact that we're churning through our deck so quickly, we've got 2 ways to recur in the form of buy and last rites. Generally, this deck is going to start off a little bit slower in most matchups because it needs to spend a bunch of mana on cycling, and the only 6 creatures that you can play that are really like big dudes are Battering Ram and Rasa. However, once this deck gets going, you just have an infinite loop of 6 and 5 power bodies that your opponent can never beat. One thing that I experienced with this deck over the course of the skirmish is that usually it feels like the one loss condition for the Miracle Draven deck is like you brick out, you're like missing cards. This deck just doesn't brick. Like I think it's like 22 cards out of your 39 say draw a card, and that's not including your leader ability. So like every single card in your deck goes +1. So I would experience where I would like have a hand that seemed kind of mid, and I thought I was gonna finally have a brick game, and then I would draw like one card, and it would be like a Treasure Trove, or it would be a Scrap Heap, which cycles into a Detonate, which cycles into Hauled Shot, or cycles into Ezreal, and all of a sudden I've drawn like 10 cards over the course of the turn. I played 6 rounds, and I did not drop a single game. It was 2-0. It was 6-0, 12-0. I think, assuming this deck can win the mirror, because that's the one thing we haven't figured out yet. assuming this deck can win the mirror, this may be like the pinnacle version of Miracle for this set. It's like rarely ever gonna brick. It has infinite power through the form of the Vi and Last Rites loops. When you get close, once you're getting close to like the 0 count in your deck, you are just going to be able to go like pick up 8 cards over the course of a turn and replay them all out with Bushwhack. Infinite power coming into points like Last Rite loops with multiple Rasas. Like this deck, once it gets to its late game position, it's unstoppable. It's just the early game that it has to figure out a way to stall in the early game, and if it can just buy a few turns, just stall your opponent off of a few points, you really can't win.
Right. And can you explain kind of what's different about the like win condition? Because Rossum was coaching me a little bit on it, and it's a little bit different in that like the original Miracles deck doesn't necessarily go through the full deck and like try to do this loop at the end, where this deck is trying to pull off like a sort of loop at the end of the game where you're trying to trade the whole game like you said, and then at the end you actually just you cycle your whole deck back and then put it all back on the board. You like push in like kill all your guys off and then put your whole deck back and put it all back on the board.
Yeah, exactly. So like the typical Miracles version with like Nocturnes and Noxus Hopefuls, you're playing somewhat aggressively in the early game, like trying to conquer points and hold points with all your dudes. This deck, all you're really doing is like you just want to make one battlefield unattackable by your opponent, and then once you set up in that way, you can spend all your mana every turn just like play a bunch of draw spells, play a few dudes, just enough to keep your opponent out of the game, and then if you need to in the late game, you can just go shove everything in, trade, use viability, put back called shot plus a bunch of dudes, play a called shot, draw more called shots, play a called shot, draw more called shots, eventually find a combination of like Bushwhack and a bunch of free or one cost dudes, shove everything in again. If you need to, you can then put those units back and play more called shots. You can cycle away, like, because of how many called shots are in your deck, and you can just keep looping them with Vi, you can go through your deck, or you can go through like all the creatures in your deck 2 or 3 times in a turn if you have enough runes to cycle. So that is the premium advantage that this deck offers, where it's just I literally have infinite dudes. I will never run out of dudes if my deck count is low enough. And then as long as you're playing consciously about the fact that your opponent can like swing into your Draven triggers, you can also trade all your dudes in, then cycle them all back, draw all of them, play them all out to hold like at 7 points, and set 2 fighter flights, and then just in case, I'll use Vi to dump like 10 cards back so you can't deck me. Like that is the sort of gameplay loop advantage with this, with the infinite loops. Whereas the standard Miracle version is usually doing something more like put a bunch of guys in play early, like sack all my runes early to play Nocturnes, and try to wall you out very early on, or like just out tempo you with the free dudes.
So someone asked, how do you win on defense though? You don't have recursion during your opponent's turn.
Well, versus decks that aren't the mirror, you don't need recursion on your opponents. Like, you're still a Miracle deck. You still have, like, 20 free power that you get to put into play. So, like, all you need to do, like, versus decks that aren't the mirror, you really just need to do the standard plan of, like, draw, put, like, 4 dudes in play. Like, Kaisei really can't deal with a Bushwhack plus a shovel. You're just going to be able to go, like, they full clear your board, and you go, okay, Bushwhack, Rasa, put a shovel on, Rasa goes in, conquer, eat your dude, put him play another Rasa, Rasa goes in, eat another dude, play a battering ram to base. Like, now you have no dudes in play, and I have 3, and all my guys are bigger than a singularity. Or, like, can be bigger than a singularity. So, versus decks that aren't the mirror, you really don't care about recursion on defense. Like, you're just going to have more stuff in play than they are anyway.
Right. And those 2 fighter flight sets, because you loop through and just set those 2 fighter flights.
Exactly.
So now...
Exactly. You're gonna have while you're doing this loop, you can dump 2 fighter flights back into your deck and then tutor them out with called shot. Like once you're at a deck count 4, like 3 or less, called shot is essentially infinite tutors. Like you can tutor your best card every single check.
Right. Does this deck lose to Decree Bellows Breath Victor like regular mirror?
No, I'd say, well, first of all, I wouldn't even say that standard Miracle loses to Decree Bell's Breath if you're playing around it. But this version is even less susceptible to Victor because they're going to clear your board, and you're going to have a Bushwhack that puts a bunch of dudes. Like, it's the same gameplay loop of Bushwhack, put a bunch of dudes in play for free, cycle back my dudes to the bottom of my deck, replay them for free with like my called shot cycling. Like you can never run out of steam in this deck. The only thing you can do is die to the early game. Like that is the only loss condition for this deck.
Right, and I think Victor doesn't score aggressively enough too. So, like he said, like okay, they Bell's Breath wipe your board, but like if you have the shovel on board, plus like you just have the ability to draw through your whole deck, you're just like, okay, I'll play any unit, put the shovel, put two guys back, called shot, run this all back, like just go 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 go. Provided you have enough power now, it might take you a few turns to get the power back to rebuild this board. But the problem is that if the Victor deck isn't scoring fast enough, it gives you a billion more turn, like 4 more turns to just try this all over again. But it's even easier from where you start than where you started from because your whole deck's gone. So you're just choosing, you're using the shovel to pick and choose the cards that go back in your deck. And then if you need more cards, you put the Vi back in, you get the Vi, and then the Vi puts more cards back in. So like you're able to just recreate this board state over and over and over again because you've gone through your whole deck, and now you can effectively stack your whole deck in however you want to, and then just use the called shots to, like Daniel said, just keep repeating this loop over and over again.
Yeah, like I think this deck is basically infinitely resilient once it has done its thing. The number one thing that would potentially cause it problems is your opponent has like some form of early dudes plus disruption for your board. Like maybe if Victor opens a very good aggressive curve plus singularity multiple times, they can take you off the board for long enough to potentially kill you before you get to your end game loop. But if at any point during the mid game the Victor player is like tapping low, just killing all your dudes, and you have a Bushwhack with a couple of cheap guys, they can't recover from that spot because you're going to take both battlefields, conquer, draw twice, put two dudes in play that they have to answer, and then they're going to spend their entire turn answering the two dudes, which then gives you the opportunity to go through your gameplay loop again.
So someone said, I was Rossum's final oppo with the SCG. I can confirm it's hard to beat the list. I was up 6-0 or 7-0 both games, and it didn't matter. The list is gas. Yeah, and that's the thing too, is you do get beat down. You're going to be sweating. You're going to feel like the game win is hopeless, but you just kind of, it's a combo deck in the truest form of combo deck that we've ever had in this game. And it is going to feel like you're getting beat, like you're not scoring, and all of a sudden you're just like 30 might on both battlefields, and they're like,
exactly,
can't do anything about that. Like 30 might 2 fighter flights.
It'll look like they're doing nothing. They're like spending, oh my god, he spent 3 mana to play Treasure Trove Detonate, like 3 mana, kill 2 cards, draw 3 cards. Like that doesn't seem very good. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it'll be, oh, by the way, here's 3 Rams, 3 Rossas, set 2 fighter flights. I still have enough runes to make a Bushwhack push next turn if needed. Like, good luck.
So Rossum is in the chat answering questions if you guys have some. He is sick dying, but he can still use his fingers, thank God. Yes, rip Rossum. That win took all his power. So a couple people are asking, like, okay, if you kill, like, the Vi and the shovel, or someone's saying, like, what happens if we just, like, have an auction to steal the shovel and kill the Vi? If you play correctly, this shouldn't happen, because one of them puts the other one back, right? Like, there's no scenario where they're both on the board, you're in a position where they broke your board, but they also killed the shovel. Like, a lot has to go right for that to happen.
The other thing that you have to consider is the Shovel Vi looping package is only required once they've answered your first round of threats. Most decks cannot even get over the 30 free might that you're putting into play. Like, you might just win the game off of 3 Battering Rams, 3 Rossas, good luck. There are a lot of situations where you're just going to win off that.
You keep the Vi in the back if you're not holding for game. Like, the only time the Vi's creeping her way into the battlefield is when you're trying to, like, it's literally you're at 7 points and you just, like, need one side to hold. Like, that's the only way. And even then, you sometimes still leave her in the back because you're like, well, if they do have a way to break this, I can leave her in the back. It also makes you less susceptible to the Imperial Decree Bell's Breath combo, because the Bell's Breath can only hit one battlefield with each repeat, right? So, like, if they want to delete 3 on one side and 3 on the other, they can't hit the Vi in that equation. So they need, like, another spell.
If they're running that combo against you, you can just do something like, because you're typically going to have your double fighter flight set. So if you have, like, 3 dudes on each battlefield and they have the perfect Imperial Decree Bell's Breath combo, you go, okay, fighter flight, 1 guy from each side. I have 3 guys living. I'm still going to hit for lethal this turn. Like, it's fine. Yeah,
Rossum said it himself. An error occurred if both Vi and Shovel are in the bin. It's like if you ever played Hearthstone and your Doomsayer gets to attack something went wrong.
Something has gone horribly
Something
wrong.
has gone very wrong. Uh, so yeah. Will you be releasing VODs of this in practice in the Discord? So we did actually do some practice sessions of this the other day, and we'll be doing some this week as well in the Discord. And we can absolutely,
We're doing
we'll be
some
recording
tonight
those.
after this stream. Me and
Yep.
Colin are going to play the Detonate version versus the version that he played in top 4, and we're going to see which one seems better in the mirror. Because ultimately, this event that's coming up, CCS, we're expecting there's going to be a lot of Miracle Draven, and so I need to know, from my perspective, which one is going to be better in the mirror. Because if this miracle, or if the Detonate version is worse in the mirror, but it's better into everything else, then you have a real decision to make. You can either play the deck that's better into everything else in the room, or you can play the version that's like happens to brick more often, but better in the mirror.
So a called shot ban is probably enough to stop this sort of thing. At least the recursion can't happen. This deck might still function like the first cycle through without the called shot. Probably not, but like let's say it could. The scrap heaps and the detonates are enough. But you won't be able to pull off the like dig through your deck again part of this. That's the part where called shot is absolutely necessary. You might be able to pull this combo off the first time where you're like, I'll put my whole board on the board, but you won't be able to pull off the like actual part of this deck that matters, which is like you're taking trades the whole game, and then at the end you trade everything that's on your board, and then you cycle your whole board back and put the board back on the board. That you probably can't do without called shot. Or
Yeah, I
at
don't
least
think
it
it's
becomes
possible.
much harder.
There's no other 0-mana way to get that many cards out of your deck. You could maybe do something with like invert timelines, but that's like such a bricky, like it's not a good card in the early game. It doesn't reduce your battering rams enough. Like I think it's possible you could see some sort of combo deck without called shot, but I think it would be a lot worse. I think it'll probably just be strictly worse than like a mid-range Draven deck, or like an Annie deck, like an Annie aggro deck in these colors.
An easy hit would definitely hurt this, but the problem with hitting easy is one, it's a chosen champ, which I wouldn't want to take a chosen champ option away, and two, like called shot will just be a problem again. I promise you, it is not like easy is an enabler, but called shot is the real problem card. Like things like this will be an issue if you leave that called shot card around. It is just there. Like you can go through all these like Twitter ban threads, all these Discord ban threads, and most people who disagreed with us, a lot of people are like no bans whatsoever, but people who are like I don't believe in bans, but called shot has to go. Almost every single person agrees with called shot.
But
yes, yeah, almost every single person unanimously who is like I don't like bans, but called shot. Yeah. Like called shot is the card that everybody knows needs to go. I think the devs know it deep down too. Whether they want to admit to it or not is a whole nother issue, but like everybody knows called shot's got to go. It's not a secret now. Like, and I really have been.
Nova dropped a bar. Banning Ez and leaving called shot legal is like banning needles and legalizing heroin. Holy. I mean, yeah, I don't know.
Broken.
I'm not sure how many people in chat have talked to me at any of these events, but I've been saying like basically since this whole miracle thing popped up, like I will be playing 3 called shot until it is banned. This card needs to be banned. It will never be okay in the format. Like there's no way you can like manipulate it where like maybe if we ban Ezreal and like 13 other cards, we could, and like Battering Ram and Rasa, then like yeah, called shot's fine in that circumstance. No, I mean if called shot is not doing broken things in Miracle, it'll be doing broken things in something else. Like it originally, one of the things that we started on in this format was Misfortune, because adding called shot to the deck made the deck super consistent. Like it was like 75% to hit turn 4 Aurora going first. So like if called shot isn't doing something broken in this deck, it'll just do something broken in another deck. So it needs to go.
So, and something I want to get into is like, okay, well, like you guys are sitting there like, okay, so I should just play this. What's the pitfall? Well, the pitfall is this. One, you are a little weaker to aggressive decks, unlike the other version, which has a little bit more early game might in the form of like Noctis Hopefuls and can do some trick shit with the Nocturnes, where you are able to get battlefields. You can cast your cold shot at action speed and get Nocturnes out as like extra might, kind of. But what is the other pitfall of this deck? And the other pitfall is that the way in which you sequence your combo at the end of the game is actually kind of intricate, and it's what I call long thinking, not hard thinking. So it's long but not hard. That's what she said. But it's different, right? Because a lot of it's like, okay, if you think about it, you just like the long part of it is thinking like, okay, how do I put my deck back so that the called shots? Because I'm going to look at two, add one to hand. That one goes to the bottom. Look at two, add one to hand. So you have to do this like sequencing, this level of sequencing in your brain on top of like understanding
Yes.
your own pitch stack, right? Because you're probably like a lot of people will write down their pitch stack. So you're taking the time to write down your pitch stacks. You're taking your time in your brain to figure out how the order I'm going to draw these cards. And it's like, well, Alex, that's ridiculous. Like anybody could figure out the order you're going to draw these cards in. And it's like, yes, it's not hard though when you sit down there.
But can you do it quickly?
Yes, can you do it in a timely manner? And this is kind of where like you can actually practice this deck a lot of the times by just solitaring, like truly
Yes.
just solitaring.
You can get a lot of value. Like if your goal is to speed up your miracle gameplay, you can just solitaire. It's fine.
Yes.
You can do like 50 solitaires and sort of think about like this is what I'm taking off called shot each time. This is how I'd stack my deck at the end game to like successfully loop through my entire deck. You can get a lot of value out of solitairing with this deck in particular.
Yes. So I think it's a lot of practice. It's a lot of you are going to be the one when you play against this deck too. You have to understand that your opponent is going to be the one who is playing slow, and not just because they're playing slow necessarily, but because they're performing so many actions in a turn. This is not against the rules of the game either. Like if your opponent's performing 10 actions, they get time for every action they perform. However, the judge decides to judge that. So on top of like keeping them kind of honest, and what I mean by that is making sure that you let them take their tanks when they need to tank, but also making sure in the times where you know they shouldn't be tanking, you're making them, hey, you need to make a play. Like you're not doing your pitch stack thing here. This isn't complex. Like I play this deck enough to understand this should be quick for you. Like you should not. And if they're taking long to like figure out their whole turn in advance, that's one thing. Like they're like, okay, a minute, go, 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 go. That makes sense, right? But when it's like a minute, 30 seconds, 30 seconds, 30 seconds, you need to keep people on their toes, truly, because you shouldn't just have to play fast because their deck takes so long. And I think me and Colin played three games of this the other day, just me and him. I was playing the regular version, he was playing the Detonate version. Took us an hour and a half. And that was playing online, so like some of the actions take longer because we're going through our deck a lot, and that's a little more tedious online than it is in person. But it took us just shy of an hour and a half to play 3 games. Because the end of the game is both of us, because we're playing a Miracle Mirror, and the end of the game is both of us trying to figure out the math on how to stack our decks and this, and that. So like this deck, I don't usually argue that. I think I said this last week in the bans. I don't think fundamentals is a good reason to ban a deck. Like this deck isn't good, but it takes too long to play. Like yeah, I don't believe that shit. But if there is a detriment, if there is a side detriment to this deck being too broken, is that it takes egregiously long to play. I do think that this deck it creates toxic play patterns more than just the time issues. It is just a broken deck. I think it does something that fundamentally no designer probably wants in their game, which is drawing through your entire deck, especially with such simplicity. This is not like we're not 10 sets in and this broken combo came to be. We're 2 sets in.
I've been talking about this in the Discord like all day. This deck is playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Every other deck is playing Riftbound. And like some of the other decks are better at playing Riftbound than others. Some of them, like Midrange Draven's really good at playing Riftbound. This deck is playing a completely different game. Like this deck looks closer to like a vintage level Magic deck than to a set 1 or set 2 Riftbound deck. Like this deck is just a completely different beast of its own. Not just the Detonate version in particular. The Detonate version just does it best and most consistently, but the Miracle archetype in general is completely different game to what everybody else is.
Right, exactly. So I think that this deck is just like very like this is another iteration that might as well be. I think it might be better than the original iteration. Just a little bit more complex to play, whereas like you don't have to do this stack your whole deck at the end with the other version. You just plop your board out and say deal a lot of the time. Different ways to think in that deck, though. I mean, there are still some complex end of game states, but I think this deck has evolved to the point now where It's picking up, and most people are starting to recognize, wait, this is probably the best deck. It beats most of the nonsense deck. The only deck it even seems to struggle with remotely is Draven Midrange, which is just like the other problem deck in the format. But
Also,
Draven
I would say
Midrange,
Aurelia as well. Aurelia is a real contender.
sure, like, I just think this deck, it's starting to get out there. Like, you're starting to see even in some of these skirmishes, which I'll show you guys shortly, people are picking up, like, wait, this Miracle deck is just better because the mid-range Draven deck is a lot more targetable than this deck is. Like sometimes the Victor controls can kind of target the Dravens. The Kaisa controls can target the Dravens a little bit. The Auroras can definitely target the Dravens. Like, these are decks that have some semblance of a win rate. They can't beat this fucking monster. Like, they just, like, this deck shreds those decks.
Well, I mean, so since Aurora happened to come up, I don't know if you guys noticed, Detonate can target opponents' gears. So if you play against an Aurora player, you just randomly have 3 engine cards in your deck that happen to hard counter their entire
Yes, that too. Yes, you can. Yes, like
just in case, obviously we're beating up on all the decks that do fair things, but even Aurora, which is in theory an unfair deck, we just have the answer in our main deck at 3 copies. It's pretty intense. Like, I think this version is so consistent that if it wasn't for mirror matches, I'd be like locked in on this list. The only thing I'm not sure on is mirror matches. I need to play more of it.
So Rossum, you said you think Aurelia is a bad matchup for this deck? Is that for this deck, you think? Yeah, why do you I want to hear this. Why do you consider Aurelia? Because that's not one I haven't played enough of this deck to know for a fact. But the other Miracles version didn't seem to struggle very much with Aurelia in our testing. So why do you feel this one is a little harder? Just because they score points so much faster?
I'm also curious why he's saying Kaisa is a bad matchup. I feel like we're very favored in Kaisa.
Hey, didn't you beat Kaisa in the finals 2-0? I assume Sneaky Deckhand. I assume that's why Aurelia is bad. If I had to guess,
yeah, that is also what I'd assume. Sneaky is like the MVP of Aurelia being able to.
I would assume it is Sneaky Deckhand is the number one issue for this deck, and that I could definitely see. I think specifically Detonate Miracle is not good versus Aurelia. Okay, so that is where this deck. That's where this deck is struggling that the original version is not, because it just doesn't have the early game. Doesn't have that early game contest.
We certainly have less dudes. We have less dudes and we're slower. So I could see it. There were a few other questions. One person was asking about Fight or Flight. They're saying that Fight or Flight is the card that needs to go. I personally think that basically any good card at 0 mana is probably too broken. But what are your thoughts on Fight or Flight?
I said last week in my band discussion I thought Fight or Flight was a card that could go. Fight or Flight or Rebuke. I prefer Fight or Flight. I think I've been sold. I think the team convinced me on. I said Rebuke originally, and I think everybody convinced me on Fight or Flight. So I'm sold on Fight or Flight now. But I wouldn't hate if Rebuke went. But Fight or Flight just being a 0 mana negate combat is like gross. Like, goes back to the like it doesn't because most of the time you don't need to You don't need to kill a guy with your spell. If you remove a guy from combat, that spell killed another guy because you won combat, and then your combat killed a guy that you were not going to kill otherwise. So, it is effectively a kill spell. Or, if you're at 6 and you push out their guy that was going to break your battlefield, you won the game with it. So it didn't matter that it killed the guy because it won the game. So,
yeah. I also think the card is way too versatile. On offense, it can function to push through big dudes. On defense, it's a 0 mana, effectively tap a guy. But also, if it comes back around, if you set the card and it comes back around to your turn, it actually just gives your guy ganking. You can just send a guy back from your battlefield to send it over into the other side. It does everything. It's broken. It's, acceptable on offense. It's broken on defense. And then if it comes back around to your turn after it's already been set, it's now just, it's 0 mana to give your guy ganking.
Someone asked 1 to 10, how likely do you think a ban is? We've got 11, 10, 10, 11, 10. Someone said...
So, I don't know. I can't read the mind of the Riot devs. All I can say is I hope there's a ban. I hope that I think one of the Riot devs said they didn't want to do any bans or any changes to the format 2 weeks before an event. The China Regional is next weekend, so I'm hoping the day after the China Regional we get... Hey guys, call shot's gone.
So, And someone asked, can you talk a little bit about the pitch stacking here while I grab a drink of water? Explain the pitch
Yeah,
stacking.
sure. So the basics of the pitch stacking thing is you're going to get very low into your deck, right? Well, I guess I'll start off with, as you're playing cards like Stack Deck and Call Shot over the course of the game, you're going to want to write down the order that they are going back into your deck. And keep in mind, when it comes to Stack Deck, you actually have to randomize the 2 cards that are going back, right? And also with a 2-card mulligan. So typically you'll be writing down, what I've been doing is a simple 2-card or 2-letter abbreviation for each card that's going back. Once you've gone through the majority of your deck, you will actually just know every single card that's left in your deck, and you will know within 1 or 2 cards certainty, because of the way that Stack Deck is flip-flopped, you will know the order that you are getting all these cards into. So that's the sort of first pitch stack that happens, where you now know the entire order of your deck, card for card, and you can play around that to potentially find some lines that are not typically available. The second portion of that is, once you're down to 0 cards in deck, or virtually 0 cards in deck, and you have a Vi or a Last Rites in play, Last Rites depends on context. You'll have to be able to like crash your guy in and remove the Last Rites. But let's say for the sake of argument, Vi, you can actually just put cards back to the bottom of your deck in the order that you want to draw them. So a very basic example of a pitch stack that you might do is, let's say you want to completely refill your board with 1 draw, right? You put back a Called Shot, a Dude, a Stack Deck, another Dude, and then another Called Shot. And then the next 4 cards is like Stack Deck, Dude, random card, Dude. You can then proceed to play Called Shot, draw a Dude and a Called Shot, play another Called Shot, draw 2 more Dudes, and now you've plot 3 Dudes into play for effectively probably 1 or 2 mana, depending on whether it's Ross's or Batter. And the stacks can get more complicated than that. You can go up to like 16 cards deep, depending on how many Stack Decks and Called Shots you want to cycle through. But when we're talking about pitch stacking, we're talking about using the recycle mechanics in the deck to literally stack your deck the way that you want it to be, so that you can draw every single card that's in that stack that you want to see. The filler cards that you put back don't really matter. They just need to be cards that you're okay with having in your deck after you resolve this whole cycle through the system. And you can do this, in theory, every single turn that you have enough runes to do it, which is the absolutely insane part. Somebody said pitch stacking is just going to eat time. Yes, sort of. You should probably know more or less how you want to do the Vi stack at the end of the game before you go into the tournament.
That's where solitary helps a lot. That's where practicing.
Yes, that's where solitary is going to help a lot. And then I would recommend taking notes as often as possible, doing it very quickly and like in between card resolutions. So like Called Shot, check 2 cards, add 1, check the next 2 cards, add 1, and then immediately go and write down the 2 cards in order that they got put back. It'll add maybe 5 or 10 seconds over the course of like the resolution of your cards, but it's very important that you know the order. So yeah, I think that is specifically the Vi interaction is the pitch stacking that is unique to this Detonate version that is not typically seen in the Noxus Hopeful and Nocturne version that got top 4.
Yeah, so like, how often does it happen? Well, with this version, Millennial, you're actually taking trades over the course of the game wherever you can, whereas like maybe the standard Miracle plays maybe a little more passively because they don't have to, because they're able to make board states, and their board states just threaten their opponents from not scoring. So like where they might be playing like a Battering Ram on like turn 2 or turn 3 or whatever, and the Battering Ram just kind of stays there and says, you can't score because my guy is going to come here and get you. This deck is just going to try to throw, anytime something scores, you're just going to throw guys in there. You're just going to go attack, attack, attack. Because at the end, you're going to draw through your whole deck with all these draw cards, and you're going to do the stack thing where at the end of the game, you get your whole deck, you get all the creatures back on the board again. So you just need to slow them down as much as humanly possible.
This deck thrives on a long game, where typical miracles can actually run out of steam if you actually churn through all their dudes. This deck never runs out of gas. It has infinite cards. Assuming you have either a Vi or a Shovel in play, you have infinite cards. So this deck is fine trading resources as often as humanly possible. Sending your Rasa into like their 6 power guy. If your guys are getting blown up by spells but they're not developing creatures, that's great for you. That just gives you more time to develop. That gives you more time to churn through your deck. Like, you just stall, take points where you can, like mainly prevent them from taking points, because the the further away they are from winning the game, the more time you have to develop your sort of infinite loop. There was one other thing. Somebody in chat said practice remembering it. I am not aware of anybody. I guess maybe Colin can do this. I'm not aware of anybody who can perfectly remember a 15 card deck. But if you can do that, hit me up because I'd like to learn that. That's really cool. Personally, I can remember like the approximate location of some of my cards. And as soon as I started writing it down, I realized just how much I was missing by not doing it.
Z-Draw super chatted on YouTube and said, "When is Cold Shot getting banned?" I don't know if we don't. I don't. Unfortunately, my crystal ball is out of service right now.
Hey, how's the stock market going tomorrow? I'd like to know.
Unfortunately, if I had to guess, I would bet. So I would bet it's either this week, and if it's not this week, I think maybe it is possible. The only reason I could think is they're either not going to ban, which cue the Kermit falling off the building meme, or I think that they might. It is possible they are waiting for the China National to finish, which is not this weekend but next weekend, because they don't want to do something short notice for that. I know they apologized when they had to make rule changes before the first set of Chinese regionals.
Yeah,
like
people
that
were
bothered
very
them.
upset at the Kaisa changes, the changes to Falling Star and Acathian Rain right before the last event. So my assumption is they're not going to do anything until after their big. It's a nationals, right? Is what it was.
Yeah, and I suspect they could still do something this week. I'm not ruling that out personally. However, they don't do something this week, that would signal to me, okay, why are they waiting this long? They've already had a whole week. Now it'll be 2 whole weeks after this week. I doubt they're considering either of these 25Ks in their decisions because they're not official events. Maybe a little bit, but I doubt it.
Which is sort of tragic because these official events like warp the format in a way that Riot is not. Either they're not interested in knowing about, or they just don't consider it. All the official events, because of the metal cards, you're never gonna see a deck be more than like 30% of the room, even if it's absolutely degenerate, because people will identify that the second place. Let's take Draven for example. The second place Draven player made less money than anybody who got a metal card. So most people are not going to play Draven. They're going to try and farm a metal card.
Right, and so I think too, like you said, at these events you're going to see a lot more of this deck. I think that if I had to guess, it'll be this week. But if it's not this week, I would say almost with certainty that they're waiting for the China regional or national to end. That's the only reason I could think of. Or they really want to test to make sure they get this ban list right, which would surprise me coming from a team where their lead dev said, "You guys haven't tried anything. There's a secret deck not even a month ago." So
Alex, maybe there's a secret deck we're missing. I mean, we got to keep.
I think they've given up on the secret deck bit. I think that's over with now. I would have to guess they can see these results and be like, "This is not acceptable. We're going to do something." Like the very least, I expect Cold Shot is gone. If they do nothing else, they will get rid of Cold Shot. And maybe they leave everything else and they're like, we don't still believe in the Draven Menace, but we're willing to admit we made a mistake with Miracles. Like we're willing to admit that was an error on our part, and we will correct that error. But 15% into an insane conversation. Into an insane conversion.
So I don't know if you guys noticed, but at both Bologna and Vegas, the Draven decks converted at like 200%, which is not supposed to happen for the best deck in the room. Or sorry, the most popular deck in the room. Usually the way it works is the most popular deck actually under-converts because of all the mirror matches. But if you've got a deck that starts out at 15% of day one and becomes 30% on day two, what that tells you is this deck is so good that mirror matches do not stop it from over-converting, which should be a red flag for you that the deck might be a problem for the format. Now, does Riot care if it's a problem for the format as long as the representation still stays like 5% for every leader? I genuinely don't know. My hope is that they will my hope is that someone will get through to them in some way. I don't know how, but my hope is that somebody has identified that the infinite loop Draven deck, that the Miracle dump 30 power into play on turn 3 is not is not the same game as every other deck in the format.
Yeah, and I would guess too that will they admit they're wrong? I mean, they will have to admit they're wrong. You never ban something without admitting you make a mistake, right? Like you don't ban something and say we don't think there's an issue, but all you players complain, so we're gonna ban it just because you complain. But just know we didn't make a mistake. No, typically I don't expect the devs will ban something and say they didn't make a mistake. That would be insane to me. And I think they're aware of the problem, to be clear. I do not, as much as I like to poke fun at them, I do not believe they are truly, like, just full-blown incompetent. Like, not a whole team of people, at least. Maybe one person on the team, but not the whole team. No. So I think I would guess they're aware of the problem. And they're either waiting to make sure they get it right, because, again, like, this only became very evident a week ago. So they're waiting, they're testing, they're trying things to try to get it right. They haven't done an E-ban yet because there's no official events until the China event, or they're waiting for the China event because they're afraid that they don't want to give them like a last-minute meta change, which is also very possible. Or third option,
I mean, I think that's
they're not.
I do think
anything.
That's reasonable. Yeah, that in my opinion is the worst case scenario where they've just said like, nah, it's gonna be fine. But my hope is that they are just respectful of the Chinese players that have been putting all of this testing in for their nationals, and they don't want to change anything before then. That is my. Maybe I'm hoping. Maybe it's just hope, but one way or the other.
I think so as well. I think that is. If I had to guess, that's likely, but I still believe there could be a ban this week. It does, like, if they made a ban tomorrow, that would give the Chinese players 2 weeks. Or, like, it'd be kind of nice if they gave us the ban and just said it's not in effect till the Chinese nationals. Like, that would also
that would
be
be
cool.
Quite cool. I would actually, that would be a very nice.
Yes, but if you're not gonna, if you're the one thing I will say is, like, if you're not going to make the ban till then anyways, you might as well get the data from the Chinese nationals and be like, okay, you might as well take another set of data points just because why not? Like, maybe we can find something that we missed that we think needs to get hit. Like, no reason to do a preemptive ban if you could get more data.
Maybe they find something, like, maybe they've got, like, a 3-card ban list and they want to up it to 5 or something like that, and they're going to use the Chinese nationals to figure that out. Maybe they've got a 1-card ban list of just called shot and they want to hit something else, and they haven't decided what it is yet. It's really impossible to know without somebody, like, inside the organization, and I don't know anybody, so I gotta take my educated guess and hope that something's coming out after China.
So, and you can see, so as I was told in Rossum, or I think the second place guy's in here as well. Sorry, I forgot your name. There was 6 out of 8 Dravens in top 8 of this event, if I'm not mistaken, right? And you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was 6 out of 8. I think it was Kaisa was the finals, was the other side of the finals, and then something else that I don't know. So yeah, I think that they're probably only looking at YouTube chat.
Oh, is there a Twitch chat? Uh-oh.
No, I'm looking at the Twitch chat.
I
can see the Twitch chat.
Oh,
no, I can see the Twitch chat, so I've been reading the questions as they come up. I can see it. I have, because my feed gives me both the Twitch and the YouTube, so.
Oh, no.
What? Why?
Oh, why no ride the wind to have the option for the 2-point combo? It's unnecessary. Bushwhack essentially fulfills that purpose, but it also lets you do things in the early game, like dump a bunch of battering rams and Rosses into play. Yeah, ride the wind isn't really necessary. Bushwhack does the job. Better. Hare said, "Is the Detonate build just better than the standard build, or are there trade-offs?" There are legitimate trade-offs.
We talked about them a little earlier.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about those earlier, but sorry, my dogs are fighting. Hey, you two rodents, get up here.
Okay. I don't know if there's any other questions. If you guys could just repost them.
Yeah.
I know there was one earlier. Somebody was asking which tier of the Metafy you need to be subscribed to see the stage testing later. I don't know the answer to that. I hope.
No, for stage testing, it's just the lowest level tier will get you into the regular stage testing Diamond gets you the Diamond stage, which is our VOD reviews. But as long as you're in the Discord, you can see stage testing. That is not restricted to a specific tier. However, if you want the deck list from the stage testing or any sort of deck list, that is at gold for $20. Bushwaker doesn't do the trick with Vi in turn. She's playing no double.
Yeah, I got this one. So when you play this deck, you're not actually most of the time you are not using Vi for her gigantic lethal push. You are mainly using her to recycle a bunch of dudes to the bottom of the deck. The Ride the Wind lethal with her is not really necessary because when you're playing like Bushwhack in the mid game is just a good card to haste a couple of small dudes in, or like medium-sized dudes in. But it also means that whenever you do your loop to like draw all of your dudes again, you can just rehaste every single one of them into the point immediately. Ride the Wind is only going to work with just Vi. We're only running the one Vi, and we're not... In most games, we are not trying to do the Vi the Wind combo. In the situation where we do want a big Vi coming in that's hasty, Bushwhack still does the job. It just doesn't do it on both sides. Like, in almost all circumstances, Bushwhack is preferable. It's just in a situation where we only have the Vi and we have no way to draw our extra dudes. Like, it doesn't come up a lot, is I guess what I'm trying to... And the space in this deck is incredibly tight. Like, we have one Shovel, we have one Vi, we have one Rebuke. Those are like the only cards that we've like barely squeezed in. There's not really any room. Oh yeah, and one Spinning Axe as well. Like, there are a lot of cards that we would want additional copies of, that we just don't have. Like, we would love to fit in more copies of like everything, but we just don't have room.
Right. Someone asked for a copy of the Metafy link. I will post that now.
Appreciate it.
Oh my god, leave me alone.
There's another question. There's another question. But I missed it. Somebody asked if Detonate Miracle is better than regular. I'm not sure yet. I need to see how good it is into the mirror. It is slower. So usually in the mirror, I was trying to get ahead of the point race. So, being slower in the mirror is probably a detriment. That's the part that I'm not sure on. The version that runs a lot more dudes is less consistent because it doesn't have you're basically maxed out on draw cards in this Detonate version, whereas in the other version, not so much. You have like 6 cards that are just creatures that do not facilitate additional draws. See.
Yes, there we go. There's the link to our Metafy. I posted that in the chat. Well, the Vi's at Diamond help with fundamentals as well as learning specific decks. A lot of the VODs are user-submitted VODs, so people will submit VODs to us to have us review. We'll then review them on Tuesday, and we'll record that review of them to kind of tell them like what they could do better, where they went wrong, specific breakdowns with their play patterns. And then we post those recordings as well in the Diamond VODs, and you can kind of see like where mistakes are being made and things to look out for. So yes, absolutely. Yeah, I'm trying to keep the long form ads now to the tournament streams where there's more lull time, whereas these streams are a little bit more active. So, and just to go through, you can kind of see. So this is mid-range Draven. That literally says mid-range Draven, so I'm going to assume it's mid-range Draven. This is still mid-range. Like, mid-range is still the more popular version, but we see Miracle starting to pick up a little bit, I think. This is first place is a Draven. This was just... See, this one was Miracle Draven, so this one... look at this. Look at this piece of shit. Brought his Miracle deck to win his 32-man skirmish. Come on. And Millennium Games, it's another Draven.
Man, skirmishes are supposed to be competitive. I'm just doing what I'm supposed to do.
Nope, I brought Jax to my skirmish because I was trying to be a good boy. Oh, this one got won by Sivir. Core TCG, okay, there we go. Alright, this one got one. Oh, this doesn't even have anything. It's just the third place Ezreal. Yeah, I mean... So, unfortunately, Cardio doesn't really let us... When you try to go into Cardio, you can't actually see any of the deck lists or even the events, really. It's like glitches out after the event's done, so... They're just kind of relying on people to post this. Alright, easy. Or, like, the stores themselves to post this, which SCG never does, pretty much. Okay. All right. Easy there.
Zuhair's playing Miracle for his 5K. Good job. I hope you win it.
Yeah,
Make
Miracle
sure to
up.
shout us out if you do.
I
And
did
yeah,
play
he said he
Wallop.
met wall. The one wallop in your Jax deck. That's the
Yep.
MVP.
Yep. That is the MVP in my Jack deck. 3-0 against Coco now. He's lost to Wallop 3 times. In all 3 games where I cast Wallop, he lost.
What do you guys think of a rule change to what qualifies as winning combat? Yeah, so we talked about this early on with the Draven, when Draven midrange was like the boogeyman of the format. It would be nice. It would make Fight or Flight and Rebuke slightly more fair. Overzealous fan as well. At this current time, it is less of a priority to me as getting called shot removed from the game. Mid-range Draven, like if all they do is ban called shot, mid-range Draven will still be the best deck, but at least we will be playing the same game. Like every single deck will be playing the same game in terms of like you got to win combat, you got to like play around removal. Like every single deck is playing a few cards every turn. That would be more acceptable to me than this Miracle Nightmare. Now give me 3 months of mid-range Draven is the best deck because every single time he goes into combat he draws a card. Maybe I'll be more interested in the combat rule change. But for now, priority number one is get called shot out of here. It's terrifying.
Yeah, and these are all. See, they're putting battering rams, some of them in their Draven decks now. That's very interesting.
So the version we're still trying to pop off on turn 3, but it's adding Detonate and Treasure Trove to the called shot stack deck. So the typical thing that I'm trying to do on turn 3 is set up a one battlefield that can't be swung into. So that way I can slow down the mid game and then draw as many cards as I can on that turn. So like a typical line you might do if you have like 6 runes is go send the Draven in, conquer, detonate Treasure Trove, draw 3 cards, play another card, play a battering ram, set a fight or flight, and then that battlefield is like the equivalent of like 17 power. And so it should be very difficult for most decks to break in on 17 power. So you get to essentially like take your opponent off of their 2, 4, 6, 8 point tempo. Usually that gives you a bit more time to cycle through your deck and find the sort of pieces to assemble your sort of Exodia infinite power, infinite unit combo. But the only decks that I would really say have an easy time breaking into 17 on defense, or effective 17 on defense, is Aurelia and Draven, Miracle in particular. So in those matchups, it's a little bit harder, and you have to be more aware of like what your opponent can do with their mana. It isn't as simple as just like wall up one side, hold it for 2 turns, and then pop off with the rest.
Did someone say wall up? Gotcha.
You know, guys, it's been fun. I think this Alex guy is getting to me a little bit too much. I think I might have to get out of here.
Did you try the Rek'Sai deck, Alec? The yellow Rek'Sai deck? I ran it on my Nexus Knight, and it kind of impressed me with how you can have some Storm-style turns, to be honest. I haven't tried it yet. I played against it a little bit, and I wasn't particularly impressed. It's on my to-do list, but, like, I just don't, like, I feel like maybe it's better as Darius, maybe because, like, Void Rush is, like, a better Sig spell than what Darius has to offer. Maybe it's better in that regard. I think Darius has a better Chosen Champ, though, so it's, like, it's kind of hard. Rek'Sai's leader ability is better, but I think in the early game, Darius actually does a better job of having a more explosive early game with his ability.
Yeah, Darius on going second, getting to go guy like guaranteed is very, very nice.
Yes.
What about playing invert timelines, morbid return plus Vi instead of last rites? I know it's one more card, but it's harder to disrupt. Also better in the mirror. I just don't see the purpose of that, to be honest. Like, I think the Vi can put back the last rites can put back the Vi. I don't think we really need to add like the additional cards into the deck. Like, as long as we have one Vi in play, we can put all our cards back as often as we like. The last rites, as long as you can still attach it, you can use your shuffle back. If you can't attach it, but you can conquer with it, you can get back the Vi, which does the same job. And then the other thing is Shovel, like Shovel's on conquer effect actually has a lot of text when you're doing like sort of bushwhack lines. because all you need is a bushwhack and one creature you can slap a shovel onto. That results in a double conquer, because you can like pull back a Rasa or a battering. So I'd say generally no. I'm not a big fan of the invert morbid line.
My I posted my Jax deck on my Twitter. That's it. _the_great. No, I will not post it in chat. But you can check out the Challenger TCG Twitter too. They retweeted it. I took the last two best of decks and I tweaked them a little bit. The only thing that I vehemently disagree with in their list is they had two Aphelios. I played that card. That shit was cracked. For those of you that don't know, the reason this deck even works well is because there is a specific ruling. One that everyone I've played against so far, I got a few arguments at my skirmish. Everyone I've played so far, even on my team, has been like, I don't agree with this ruling, but this is how it works. Jax's ability that says you can tap him to re-equip a weapon that's already equipped can re-equip on the same unit. So what that does is it pretty much turns Aphelios into a pseudo ramp, untap, or buffer every single turn. But on top of that, it allows you to re-trigger your brutalizers every single turn. So the Jax leader ability pretty much just becomes make a guy +3 every single turn. And then if you're on Aphelios, it's make Aphelios +3 and ramp every turn. And that ruling is what makes this Jax deck playable, in my opinion. And without that ruling, I do not believe this
It
Jax
instantly
deck
modified
is
the deck from like a sort of B tier in our heads to immediately like, oh, there's actually something here. You just get to like play Catalyst or what is it, Mobilize every single turn. Like that is very impressive.
Yes, I'll find my Twitter link. I'm not that lazy. But check out the Challenger TCG Twitter, which is it's just Challenger TCG. You should be able to find it fairly easy. But my dog is now using the mouse. Let me plug this in here for you. But
no show
yes.
BG. I think you can just mill your opponent in the mirror with invert. You might be able to. I just think it's like it's one card that doesn't like that is kind of clunkier in the game plan. Also, with your end game loop of like cycling back Rasas and battering rams and called shots, you're usually going to a pretty low amount of runes, which means invert might be taking up a lot more of your turn than you'd like it. So I would say generally, yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the invert, though in the typical miracle list or the mid-range list, I could definitely see invert being like the miracle deck.
You can float 2 runes to accelerate yourself towards another turn as Jax. Yes. Wait, you can also float 2 runes to accelerate yourself forward another turn as Jax. Yeah, because you can tap 2 and then untap 2. Yes, that is...
Yeah, it's like a mini Catalyst, essentially.
Yep. What tier do you think Jax is in now? I think right now he's B tier at best, even though he did make top 8. I do think, though, that maybe even C tier. I do think if they hit Draven and they hit Miracles, I think this deck is a lot better. Like top of B tier, maybe even A tier.
Alex, somebody's asking about Rek'Sai.
Yeah, I saw. I'm getting there. I'm answering. Is there any decent guide for Fiora? I don't think there is. There might be one I think I saw on Metafy. You might be able to find it. Personally, I tried Fiora. I was going to rate a guide. Don't touch the keyboard. Nope, that's Papa's. I tried Fiora, even with it, like playing against non-Draven, like in a world where I'm not just jamming into Draven, and I don't know how that deck made finals multiple times in China. I have not been impressed with that deck. I think that deck is not very good, to be quite honest. I think it's like it is a fair mid-range deck that doesn't have any real unfair interactions. Like that is what I found with it. I wanted to write a guide for it. I spent like a couple days playing it, and I just was like, this deck sucks. I do not understand what anybody sees in this deck. But like Jax, I played like 2 games with the deck, and I was like, whoa, this deck's kind of nice. Like the first time,
Aphelios thing. Like,
yeah, the first time you go Aphelios into Jax into start putting weapons on their turn on Aphelios to like dodge removal, you're gonna feel it. It's a fun ass deck. So, so next question is, sorry if you've answered this before. Are there any answers into Kai'Sa playing as Rek'Sai every time playing against her? It seems to be nothing I can do. If you're playing the Sundisk version, what I recommend doing personally is you're looking for Sundisk. It's the single most important card, especially if you're playing into control Kai'Sa. And what you want to do in that matchup is you're going to hold the Sun Disk until you can Legion Accelerate, and your turn sequence should look something like play Sun Disk, accelerate guy by tapping the Sun Disk, cast a guy off Rek'Sai. And then from there, you're not going to vomit your hand on the board. You're actually going to hold multiple dudes in your hand. So every turn, ideally your turn sequence should be like play card, Sun Disk, play guy, accelerate, Rek'Sai trigger. It's one of the matchups where you have to generate every single card you see. Every time you activate Rek'Sai, you need to be playing a card off of it. It's not a tempo matchup where you need to just play the best card every turn. It's you activate Rek'Sai, you better pray you're playing something off that. Because you need all of the card advantage you can get in that matchup, even if they're not necessarily great ones. Like, just playing the bird to make a body because it's a body that can score is important. So that is my recommendation, the short recommendation for that matchup. If you want some more tips and tricks, you can check out the guide, which is available through our Metafy. You can also find me on our Discord, where I am available 24, not 24, 18.6 or something. I don't know. I'm just making numbers up. Okay, so what tier is
next
Ezreal?
one we had.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
What's up?
What
Okay,
was the
next one
sorry.
we had not a super competitive view, but for metal card players, what's the goal of the rogue deck to beat a Trove Miracle list? I would say the only real avenue you can go to beat this this Detonate list is to kill it early. Like, if you can get points in the early game, you can potentially shut them out before they reach their like final form. I don't think you're winning the late game. I don't think you're winning in the mid game. Like, there aren't a whole lot of decks that can produce the same amount of power as this deck does in the mid game. There's nothing you can do about the loop in the end game unless you can somehow find a way to kill Vi and kill. You have to kill Vi, kill Shovel, and kill their entire board, which I'm not sure how many decks can actually do that. Maybe like some variation of Victor could, like Victor or Lux or Renata, but then you have to rely on them screwing up, because from my perspective, if I'm in that matchup, I'm never going to put Vi and Shovel into play at the same time. I'm going to let you kill my Shovel, use Vi to put it back, use the Shovel to put back Vi, and just like keep doing that over and over. And yeah, so like I don't think there's really a world where you can go kill them in the late game. I think you just have to fuck them up early and like pray that that's good enough. That's like that would be my recommendation.
Yeah. So someone asks, yeah, I don't think I think if they ban Called Shot, I know Called Shot's a minimum, I'm saying, but I think they'll hit Draven too, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. I would be pretty concerned if they hit Draven, if they hit Called Shot and didn't hit Draven. Evan Bowers asks, how do you guys feel about the best of metal cards for word system in general? I have a whole live video. If you go in our live section on YouTube and you go to the last live video I did, that explains all my thoughts. I'm not going to get into it tonight because I already did pretty much a whole, almost like hour plus rant about how I feel on metal cards, so I don't want to get too much more into that tonight, but I go very in depth about how I feel about metal cards, and it's mostly positive, but I explain the negatives as well too.
Yeah, I don't think I've said it on stream yet, but TLDR, metal card system is really good for encouraging it basically guarantees that the format's going to be diverse, because everybody's going to want to, like, the metal card pricing is better than most of the top pricing. I just wish there was a little bit better sweetener at the top, because like getting top 4 and making less money than the guy who went 5-3 on day 1 is kind of ass. Like, that's where I'm at. I just I like the metal card system. I just like a little bit more at the top to really reward people for doing well.
And that's pretty much what my video says, but it goes a little bit more in depth if you're interested. Someone said, how do you on the for metal card players, how do we beat? What is the role of a goal of a rogue deck to beat it? Kill Shovel and then bind the base.
I think I already got that one.
No. Oh, you did. Okay, I missed that one then. Somebody's asking about Lucian. Do you think a ban targeting Miracles is enough? I'm not sure that solves a whole lot with mid-range as other best deck currently. I think they should hit mid-range too. They have to do something. Draven mid-range has to be hit in some regard. I agree with that. So, well, give me 1 second, Daniel. Then you can answer the next one, which is, what is the thoughts on Lucian?
Okay, yeah, so I've been having trouble beating Lucian on mid-range Draven. It feels like if I don't see Thermo Beam, I can't beat their Camel. I'm sure I'm doing something wrong. There's like a few ways you can navigate that matchup. There's option 1 is just get ahead in points and you can kill them quicker. Option 2 is if they don't see the Camel, then they can never beat like your Rebukes and Fighter Flights. And then option 3 is if they see Camel, if they see Campbell but they don't see Combo, you can usually point tempo them out. It's like everything has to go right for them, where they have to see Camel to beat your rebuke. They have to see the combo, and then they have to also be able to outmight you in the point. That's the requirement for them to be even in the game. Any other situation, you're probably going to
wait. We're getting an update. Dave's Twitter. Check Dave's Twitter.
Dave's Twitter. Okay.
Dave's Twitter. All right, fellas, we're pulling it up on stream right now. Let's do it. Twitter.
What's his name? Dave Gaskin, right?
Dave Guskin, I think. Let me see, fellas. All right, we're getting. Dave is tweeting about bans right now. Okay, guys. All right.
Tell me more.
All right, hold on. I'm pulling up Dave's Twitter. Dave Tron. Here we go. The Dave Tron Twitter.
Oh man, we got a 1 out of 11.
Oh boy. We're discussing card bans. I wonder if he's watching us right now. Are you in the audience, Dave?
First thing I thought.
Are you in the audience, Dave? Are you watching this?
Hi, Dave.
Are your spies in the audience? Hello, Dave. We know you're out there.
I just want to say I really love a lot of the cards you designed. I'd really appreciate.
All right, we've got some real content now, guys. Let's talk about it. All right. Hey, Riftbounders. We're discussing card bans in the near future based on overly dominant play patterns, but none to announce today, nor an expected date for bans. Expect a separate rules update on 3:30 for new mechanics being introduced in our set Unleash, as well as a few clarities around penalties, judge rewind, edge cases, and more. Yeah, okay. So let's get to it. Come on. We're watching the meta evolve, blah, 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 in large competitive events like minor Open Cell and China, along with RQs and Bologna, been keeping a close eye on strategies that may become too dominant, clearly frustrating play patterns. We promise to keep you updated if we were considering bans, and based on what we're seeing, we've begun internal discussions about the possibility. As we've shared last month, our philosophy is that bans should only be used as a last resort for us to remove a card from play. There needs to be a strong and specific reason, and we must firmly believe the change will significantly improve player experience. Our goal is to take a careful approach, ensuring that as many cards as possible in each set remain viable. If we do see a concerning trend across all levels of play, we'll respond as quickly and decisively as we can. I need a breath. We're watching as the meta continues to develop and reviewing the data, and no final calls have been made. Final calls called shot.
Interesting.
Very interesting. We will wait until... Okay, yep. We'll wait until the Shenzhen Major Open in late March before making any changes. Yes.
Yes,
we called
our speculation was right.
We called it.
Perfect.
We called it. Yes. You heard it here first, guys. We called that.
SCG, right about everything.
Yes. Dave's in the audience right now. That's why he posted this. He's like, these guys are on to us. We got to beat them to the punch. As we promised, we've committed to not making large changes so close to competitive events. Yep, that's what I figured, to ensure players have a chance to play test and adapt. We also have a rules update arriving March 3rd. This update includes support for upcoming Unleashed mechanics, improvement to rules clarities around penalties, judge rewinds, ambiguities, and other edge cases. So this is in response, I think, to some of the bad... Yeah, I did, but he wrote it again.
Oh, weird. Okay.
This is probably in response to some of the stuff that was brought up in both Bologna specifically. The judging was awful, and I wrote some of this on my Twitter, some of the issues I had witnessed firsthand, other things I had heard just through the grapevine. I didn't go through all of them, but you can see those there. Until those updates, rulings may vary slightly between events and region, and players should continue to following the rulings provided by local judges. They're going to hit my boy Jax. I can already feel it. That's all for today. It's been so exciting. Keep the questions, suggestions. What a joke. Ha ha ha. It's remarkable how poorly this game has been designed. What happened to it needing to be multiple sets of dominance before a ban? If you guys decided, damn, they're already cooking this poor guy. I was going to comment, but I don't want to comment. Should I comment?
Oh, sorry. You can go nuts. I noticed there were some comments in Twitch that we missed.
All right,
I'm fairly new to Riftbound and physical TCGs. I enjoyed playing Miracle Rogue and Hearthstone. How difficult would this list be to pilot? So, if you've already been playing Miracle, this deck is not that much harder to play compared to normal Miracle. If you haven't played any of the Miracle decks, during this format, I would say there's a bit of a learning curve. I would say start off like solitaring 15, 20 times, see how the deck feels. If you feel like you really have an understanding of like intuitively how the deck functions, I think that would be a good indication that you can pick it up for what is probably the last few weeks of this deck's lifespan. Based on these tweets coming out. It seems like they are aware of the issue and are probably going to take action after China.
So this one, the judge rewinds ambiguities and other edge cases. I wish he could have gone into a little more details about this. Speaking of ambiguities, this whole post.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, it's his job to be ambiguous. That's so that they can say like, yes, this was our plan all along.
Yes. Care to further discuss these unexplored...
Listen, I'm not going to take too much credit, but I posted a tweet that went pretty fucking viral earlier today about people were commenting about how it's only set 2 and we can't do bans, and I just posted the exact same comment but with a picture of Black Lotus, and I'm not gonna say it was me that got this guy to finally respond, but I've noticed they happen to make posts when I have tweets going viral, so
no,
maybe they're interested.
Care to further discuss these unexplored strategies or secret decks that you mentioned in an earlier post? God. No, they'll.
Alex,
I'm sure
I'm already gonna have to admit he fucked up. Don't bury him any further. Come on.
No, I already know that I'm gonna get an angry message from Colin if I make that post, so I'm not gonna do that. But
yeah, the unfortunate pumpkin has seen my tweet, and yes, it was hilarious. It has been amazing.
And yes, if you're wondering why I picked that,
can you go onto the tweet real quick, just so everybody in the chat can see? It was pretty beautiful.
Let's see, Daniel. There you go. There you go, Daniel.
Yeah, my little 15 minutes of fame.
Daniel's really proud of this one.
In fairness, it wasn't even my idea. Somebody from the Discord came up with it, and I just stole it. That was me.
Yeah, that's like half our memes, to be fair. Like I always see a good one in the Discord, and Matt will repost it. Or I'll be like, Matt, this guy's cooking.
In fairness, he did say I could steal it, so I'm not guilty. That is all. But yeah, I think I don't know, man. This has happened twice. I like complained on Twitter, and they said something, and they like can't remember how they replied to it the first time. I complained on Twitter, and then something happened. And then I complained on Twitter again, and now Dave Guskin's posting. Like, I don't know. Sounds nice. I'm going to say it's all me, as I did last time. It's totally me. They just stalk my Twitter, and whenever I complain, they're ready to make changes.
But no, I
No, but you had a tweet that didn't hit. Damn.
I'm glad. I'm glad. I'm glad this. I'm glad we're at least getting. Like, at least they're making a tweet about this. God, I like biting my nails here waiting for an announcement. So, nor an expected date, sure. Like, I imagine these will come before the release of before the occurrence of the next 2 events in set 2. So, I imagine this is how this reads to me. Yes, this is how this reads to me. I like, for all the shit I'm giving Dave here, I'm glad that at the very least they're posting to let us know that they're at least bands are in their heads. We're not like
I'm grateful that they said that, because there are some people in our Discord that were very like giving up hope, and I just said, guys, just wait until after China, it'll be fine. And it seems like that's exactly what the team is doing. They are just waiting until after China before they nuke it.
Please, man,
Unfortunate Pumpkin said Daniel is the only player they'll consider listening to. Exactly. I am the only. They just stalk my Twitter, and if I'm ever complaining, they know they need to make changes. That's where they're at.
They're definitely, there's some riot spy in our chat right now, and he said, Dave, they're cooking you right now. You need to get out there and make a post, man. They're really on your ass. Like, this is This is a bad look. We can flip the script right now. Just make a quick
Yeah,
a quick
now I have
tweet.
nothing but positive things to say. Good job, Dave. I approve. Thank you.
I'll wait till I see the ban list, but I mean it's a good start at least. I'm curious
Yeah,
what
no.
players.
You're positive, and then you see the list, and you go, "Oh shit, they didn't nerf Draven enough. Fuck,
Don't
it's
ban
gonna
any
be a one
cards
deck
out.
format again." Is
Yeah.
now a bad time to ask Grok to write your Metafy guide on Miracle Draven? I think now is the perfect time. Make sure to make it as obviously AI as possible. That usually helps sales. Definitely don't put like any sort of quality writing into that. Only very dedicated people like that loser Colin Kaiser. That guy doesn't matter. You know he got top 4 last week. That guy. Don't worry about his Draven guide. The Grok AI Metafy guide, that's the one. I think you're about to make a lot of money, man.
Yeah.
Get this guy
So
on set. No, don't put me anywhere near that leader. I don't.
yeah, I mean this at least gave us something to talk about. So it sounds to me from this post that the bans are coming. We just have to be a little bit more patient.
Somebody said they asked if they should invest in seals right now. I'm gonna go with no.
No. Dude, this is not an investment channel, but do not buy seals.
I am
think
not
that's
legally
a
allowed to
very
give
bad
financial advice.
idea.
However, I would not. Maybe if you're thinking about buying seals, maybe hold off for a few weeks. Oh shit! I missed Twitch chat. Hold on. Okay. I, for one, am in love with Dave's vague posting. I mean, he basically said we're gonna ban Call Shot after China, so
I mean,
that's
yeah, this is what that reads like to me. Reading stuff like, because like one, they want to tell you that like yes, we're aware, we've read the discourse. You guys are clearly upset. Like some people are upset. We've seen the data. Like clearly they're going to do something. And then I think like where did he say? Yeah, we're watching as a meta. No final calls have been made quite yet. Quite yet. So something like that is like no final calls have been made quite yet. Like that means it's still in their head. And then we'll wait until after before making any changes. So it sounds to me like they want to make changes. That's how I read this. Is
that's
that
also
yes, that they want to make some sort of changes here, but are kind of still hold up on it. Like they haven't quite decided if they're going to do it or not. So
I'm just gonna rapid fire because there's a bunch of this like same question. Do you think I'm safe to sell these overnumber seals at Discord? I mean, it depends. They're probably if Called Shots ban, they're probably gonna go down. But are you just gonna buy them back? Like, do you really want to pay TCG player fees and then buy them back? Like, it's probably if you're planning on buying them back later, you might just be better off holding on to them. But it seems like Dave is ready to drop the hammer on this deck. So if you're not going to play an event before Called Shots banned, you could maybe get rid of them and not worry about it. I retract that statement. Daniel is a coward. Listen, man, I only play good leaders. Set is not a good leader anymore. Maybe in the future. I just bought 10 overnumber purple seals. That's tough, buddy. I hope they were Chinese. Selling my seals now. I guess we're a finance channel now, Alex. It's rough. And then there was one guy who was asking a rulings question in Twitch. He was asking about, can you react to damage being assigned? And the answer is no. Once both players have passed focus, damage will be assigned, combat's resolved, and then post-combat stuff happens.
Rip Speculator Bozo.
Yeah, Rip Speculator Bozo is right. Anybody who's sitting out there with their unposted screenshot of unposted picture of a map covered in Seals of Discord, you're in a rough spot, buddy. Those things are not going to stay up for long.
So the sentiment is like, we appreciate the communication, and then other people mad about the banning balance. So it's like uneven split of like, I think having both banned lists Uh, and rotation is pretty heavy in terms of a collector standpoint for playing ultimately. That wait is pretty heavy in terms of from a collector standpoint for playing ultimately. They align with Riot's full. I'm confused what he's trying to say, but okay. Um, and I'm too stupid to read between the lines.
I think both having ban lists and rotation is pretty heavy in terms from a collector standpoint. Playing ultimately, they align with Riot's philosophy.
The collector thing, nobody thinks this is so. This is true, and this is the only argument I would ever hear about not doing a ban because, like, truly, like, what when you make a ban, the only thing that sucks about it is you might lose money, which sucks for people who bought 3 Seals and 3 Ezreals. I agree, but like, I keep seeing people go, you can't ban 2 sets in. Well, why? I haven't seen anybody explain why though. No, everybody just keeps saying you can't do bans.
My tweet is like evidence to the contrary. I don't know, man. Would you want to play a Magic format with
yes,
Black Lotus 4 Ancestral?
But that's my point. Is like, I've seen dozens and dozens of tweets. It's only 2 sets. You can't make bans. You need to wait for another set. Why? Explain to me why. I'm not even going to tell you you're wrong. I am going to tell you you're wrong. But at least give me a reason before I tell you you're wrong. Like, make an argument to me. Compel me. And the only one I have ever heard in these type of anti-ban rhetorics or agendas is that I'm going to lose a lot of money. And that's true. That hurts for casual players, especially people who might not have a lot of money that just bought into the best deck, or they bought 3 Seals, they bought 3 Ezreal, and to see they get banned and to see their collection value drop, I do agree. But where one door closes, another opens often too. It's like, yeah, all these cards lost value, but these other cards went up in value because other decks got good, right? So like now different parts of your collection might rise, and I understand it hurts. Like monetarily, that's the one argument I have against bans, is that it hurts casual players who might have bought in. But outside of that, I don't know an argument to not have bans. Like my favorite deck got banned. Your favorite deck was a tier 0 deck, bud. What did you think was going to happen? Like, go find another favorite deck. Is your favorite deck just the best deck? Great. Well, find a new best deck, and that can be your favorite deck now. Like, people are so anti-ban at times, but without good reason. It feels more emotional than it does logical.
Yeah.
So I don't think. I think bans are bad for casual players who make up the bulk of the community. Can you explain to me why, though? And I want to hear a reason. I'm not even going to tell you you're wrong. I want to hear the arguments, because I'm tired of seeing people, it's bad to ban. Well, tell me why. I want to hear it. So Alex is so right. Ban Kaisa so I can afford a playset.
So Mike said Aurora, or I'm going to TLDR it. Next set's right around the corner, so we shouldn't ban Called Shot. We should wait because people said that Aurora was unplayable in set 2. Aurora got 2nd place in Bologna. The deck is very broken. It just happens to be the case that there are more broken things to be doing in the set. Aurora will probably still be broken after Called Shot is banned. The card will almost definitely be banned eventually, just because it constrains what you're allowed to print at 9 mana creature or higher.
So let me put it to you this way too. Like, waiting longer does not help your problem. People don't stick around like when you wait, like because you waited longer. When the first guy who shows up to his skirmish and Dickhead Daniel or
I'm sure those people at my skirmish are really enjoying Riftbound right now.
Dickhead Daniel or
20-minute turn,
or Cockhead Colin Kaiser shows up with miracles and murdered them all. I remember Colin was like, no, they're big fan. Like, I was very nice to everyone. I'm like, man, if I were some casual and I came in, I didn't care how nice you are to me. You put out 30 might on turn 3, I'm never playing this game again. Like, if you fucking 30 might on both battlefields turn 3, I'm going to be like, I'm not playing this game anymore. Like, there's no waiting,
I'm gonna
just
show
hurts.
up with like my cool Leona deck, and I'm gonna play like a 2-drop and then like a Leona, and my opponent's gonna go, I'm gonna play a stack deck and hit a Nocturne. So now I have 4 power and play on turn 1. So now you're not allowed to attack in with your 2-drop. And then on turn 2, I'm gonna conquer with a Nocturne, and I'm gonna go fucking seal, stack deck, Called Shot, make 3 battering rams, go. You've got a 2-drop and a Leona in play, by the way. I have fucking 20 power on my battlefield. Cool? Like, are we playing the same game?
Also, the funny thing is that Miracle decks aren't even tier 0 thing in terms of pot. I mean, they're not tier 0. I'll give you that. Like, they're in terms of pot. No, they're not tier 0.
Yeah, they're not tier 0, but they're certainly playing a different game. And like the other thing is, and people say this all the time, and it pisses me off. People are saying like it didn't win a regional. Okay, the regionals are like 15% Draven. Watch a cash event. Watch an event where you're not incentivized to play the worst deck. Like there are Garen players at these fucking regionals, right? Garen is the worst deck in the game, and it's not close. There are Garen players at these events. Look at any event that's not a regional and see what the top 8 looks like. It's like 6 out of 8 Draven. It's like 7 out of 8 Draven. It's just like all Draven. Like, it's very clear there's a problem. You just can't look at the regionals because the regionals are biased against the most popular decks.
Yeah, actually, someone... so, Nanashi here makes a good point. You got a tumor. You could deal with it now or wait... Like, you could wait for... You could hope the tumor heals and goes away, or you could just get it removed. Like, and I like that analogy a lot.
I'm just happy we're referring to Called Shot as a tumor. I think that's very appropriate.
Yeah. No, it's real, though. Like, you have a tumor, like, yeah, it might be benign and it might go away, or it might be cancer. Do you want to take the chance? Like, and the answer here is kind of the same in the ban list. It goes, well, how much is it going to cost me? And that's kind of like, that's the argument, right? Like, that's the argument that I think is... So Jeremy explains, but I think they are bad for casual players because it will affect their decks. They'll show up to a Nexus Knight with their weird Yasuo brew that has Called Shots and Fight or Flight, assuming those get hit, and find out their deck is illegal. But like that's true, but like, is it worse for them to show up and find out that they have an illegal card in their deck that can be replaced? Or is it worse for them to show up and just die on turn 3 to Miracles? Like, which do you truly think is worse? And most people, the internet is pretty readily available. Most people know about ban lists nowadays. It's not like Yu-Gi-Oh! In 2008 or 2006 or whatever, where the kids show up and they're like, you had your ban list printed on the wall of your locals because not everybody knew it or had easy access to the internet. Most people know. And locals are pretty accommodating too. They'll say, hey, new ban list in effect this week, guys. This card is not allowed. Like, that's the argument for erratas, but I think with bans it's much easier though, because it's not like you can't even play the cards. Like, it's not like you show up with the card knowing it's legal and it does something different than you thought. Like, you just can't play this card.
Okay. After this last one, I'm convinced Mike is just okay, so what else do we have? Won't Aurelia be broken if they just ban Miracles and Draven? Yes, depending on how they ban Miracles and Draven, Aurelia might just be the next, the new tier 0. So maybe they need to take a more complex approach where they hit all 3 decks simultaneously. Then you've got to ask the question of, now is Kaisa the best deck because it got away completely untouched? I'm not sure exactly. It's not my job currently to be a ban list designer. I can just point out, my job is to break the game and figure out what's the most broken thing I can be doing and exploit.
Players are great at determining problems and terrible at prescribing solutions. Mark Rosewater. I use this quote all the time. We're great at figuring out what the problem is. It's the dev's job to figure out what the solution to that problem is, not ours. And I think I think that kind of encompasses all of my thoughts on that. Okay, but what if I have a huge tumor and I decide to operate on the small one somewhere else? What?
Yeah, this is what convinced me he's just baiting us.
Cold Shot isn't even played in the 2 most popular decks. The meta will become 40% Draven, 30% Aurelia. I mean, it is played in part of the Draven, the Dravens. Sure, Draven mid-range is more popular. I think
Mike is just... if I give Mike the benefit of the doubt, he's probably only looking at regionals. Draven's only 15%. Half of that is mid-range. Regionals are not a reflection of how the game actually works. It's a reflection of the valuations on these metal cards. The best deck for me to play at a regional is typically not going to be the best deck in the format. It's going to be a deck that is unpopular but still good. And so for example, I chose Jinx. Jinx literally gets to do all the broken miracle stuff, but it's not Draven, which means I have a better shot at the metal card. Anson, instead of playing Draven, he played Aurora Yi. Aurora Yi has like an okay mid-range Draven matchup. It tries to dodge Miracle, and it beats a bunch of the fair decks because it's Aurora.
So Midnight Carnival
You'll
says,
see at this next event, the CCS event, there will be so much Draven it will make you sick. That is, you have to look at events that are not incentivizing metal cards to figure out what the actual format looks like.
It's true to Midnight Carnival says, okay, once one thing goes, you'll find 6 other things that need to go as a result of the ban. It's a slippery slope. Okay, well, part of your job as a designer is to determine, if I ban these things, what is the next thing that becomes broken, and does that need to be hit preemptively? And this has happened in games before. It's happened in Yu-Gi-Oh! It's happened in Magic, where they've recognized, we ban this one thing and this deck is instantly the best, so we'll ban both these things at once. And it doesn't go ad nauseum. Like, it's not like infinite, like, this is the best deck, this is the best deck. You're trying to get everything as close to a win rate as possible. And, or at least, like, a number of decks, right? Like, if there's, like, 3 or 4 different leaders that are consistently topping, like, every single event, and, like, winning is not always a result of, like, what the best deck is, right? Like, it's a matter of numbers. When metal cards are involved, sometimes there is a little bit of vibes. Like, when metal cards are not involved, you can use numbers more purely because the numbers aren't being influenced by an outside force. But when you make a ban, yes, sometimes you do have to ban the next thing preemptively. It's rare, it's not a common thing, but yes, sometimes you do have to look and go, okay, if we ban Called Shot and let's say some section of the Draven deck, does Aurelia just become above and beyond the best deck? Okay, we hit it there. Does that fix it? And if you have a problem where every time you're banning something, there's another deck that's like the tier 0 deck or like the best deck by a very large margin, you have done a poor job designing your game.
Yeah, at some point you screwed up somewhere in game design.
Yes, somewhere you screwed up. If every single format you're having an extremely dominant meta, you have screwed up somewhere. Someone made a good argument here. Let me see if I can find it. Damn. Where I just saw it and I really like this point. Evan Bauer says, it's not a difficult thing even for casuals, referring to knowing the ban list. Same idea of knowing rule chains. Just because he's uninformed doesn't let him break the rules, right? Like, if there's a rule change, the casual doesn't leave because he didn't know that Falling Star is not a delay trigger, right? Like, he's not going to show up to locals and be like, well, now my deck doesn't work the way I want it to, so I'm leaving, right? Like, maybe he does, but, like, it's the same thing as, like, a significant rule change. You're expected to know those, too. Like, even when they're for the betterment of the game. Like, otherwise we're just saying change nothing because people don't have access to the internet, which is a ridiculous statement to make in 2026.
Yeah, that's like, that philosophy is like a decade old. Even probably longer than that.
I would agree. Ban, yeah, I agree. Something should happen. I just don't think it's all upside. Bans are never all upside. That's a fact. You don't want bans to happen. Nobody does. I don't want... If in a perfect world, nothing would get banned. That's my philosophy,
yeah,
but... It's not a perfect world, and we do need bans. I think my issue with bans is early is design for these games is often done a year in advance. Riot themselves have said this for their game as well, and I can easily imagine a slippery slope of banning cards now when cards will likely get better makes. It is so well now. Do you ban these 10 cards, these 10 new cards because we banned one strong card last set?
I mean, if we're only going up in power level from Called Shot, this game's getting crazy real quick. Like that. The difference,
right? I agree.
The difference in play between this Miracle deck and every other deck in the I'll give an example, right? In set 1, Aurora was like the most broken thing you could do, where you skip 2 turns and you start churning out 8 cost cries. In the current format, waiting until turn 3 is too slow because on turn 3 your opponent has produced like 42 power. Like, nice Dead Bloom off the top, bro, but both my battlefields are like 20. Good luck.
Call Shot is always going to get better and better. Regarding what you were talking about, upcoming events being all Draven, how much of that do you think is attributed to Draven being a relatively easy deck to play in comparison with Ezreal Miracle Civ?
Draven is not substantially easier than Miracle Civ.
So in recent years, I've started to come around on the idea of hating... Like, there are some decks that are harder to play than others, but I've started to come a little bit around on the idea... I've started hating the idea of my deck is harder than your deck. Like, yes, some decks have an easier learning curve than others, but like, dude, I can't tell you how many people over the years have said my deck is hard. This deck is hard to play. This deck is harder than this deck. And sometimes it's true. Like some decks, like yes, aggro decks are just like put your guys on the board, attack. But at a high level competitive play, they're not that simple always. And I've like in recent years, a friend of mine I played Star Wars Unlimited with. If you watch Star Wars Unlimited content, his content name is Woo. He's one of the biggest YouTubers for Star Wars, and he was one of my teammates. He was very against this philosophy, and he kind of moved me away from it, where he would say, dude, everybody in this game says their deck is hard. None of these decks are hard, or they're all hard. And I'm not so black and white in that regard, but I do agree that I think the idea of like this deck being harder than another, when you're playing at the highest level, all of the decks are hard. Unless your deck is just like autopilot perform X, Y, and Z move, like I can like solitaire it out for you. Every deck is hard when you're playing at the highest level. I truly feel that way. So I don't think maybe at entry level some decks are easier than others, and maybe that affects the play rate. But I promise you, the people who are winning, that is like much less a factor. Like some people say, oh, this deck is too hard. Sometimes people are like, this deck requires too much brain power to play over like X amount of rounds, and that might factor the decision. But the high level players, they're just going to play the best deck, or they're going to play the deck they like the most. So I think that impact on the high level players is much lower than it is on the entry level players. Yes, Ophir is my boy. That Ophir is a good friend of mine. So yes, Ophir Wu. So I agree with his reasoning, and I've come around that idea more in recent years, especially seeing it so much in Sue, where everybody's like, this deck is really hard to play, and it's like, sure, all of the decks are hard to play when you're playing them at the highest level. Like, so yeah. Let's see. They need to learn more on weaker power stuff and just make sure that we don't turn to Monitor Magic within 2 sets. I agree. The power level started a little too high out the gate, and I hope they drop that a little bit. Now, naturally, you have to power creep sets to sell, because if you don't, if every set is worse than the last, there's no reason to buy the newest set, which is why rotation kind of helps curb this. But like you see in Magic, eventually you just run out of design space. You can only reprint Shock and Explore, whatever the Search a Land card is, so many times, or you can only print it. Yeah, you can only reprint Rampant Growth, but now it Surveils one, now it Scries one, now it does, like, you can only reprint the same card so many times before you just have to make a new card, right? So, Dex difficulty is remedied by reps. That's all there is to it. To some extent, yes. I definitely missed some questions. I skipped to the end because I was going a little slow, but
actually, I think we got. I think there are some decks where a mistake costs you the game, say Aurelia, and there's some decks where you can make some errors and still be at an advantage that doesn't matter, say mid-range Draven. I think the deck that is the least punished by mistakes is the Miracle version that's running all the Nocturnes and the Noxus Hopefuls, because you can make like only 75% of your decisions correctly because you make so many of them that it just doesn't matter. Like, I've seen people play Miracle very suboptimally and still be miles ahead because the deck is so ahead of the curve in what it's doing. So, but I think like there's a lot of like very specific niche information, like, does Aurelia fucking up one time lose her the game? Sometimes, unless you're playing against a matchup where it's like unlosable, like Ari, then it's just totally fine and it doesn't matter that you made a mistake. Miracle Draven, like, you can make some pretty fucking terrible decisions and it just doesn't matter because your deck just hit 3 Nocturnes off of like 2 stack decks, and so you have 12 free power and play for no reason. Like, mid-range Draven, sometimes your mistakes are extremely detrimental and sometimes your mistakes don't matter in the slightest because you're playing a matchup that's like super favored. Like, like Alex was saying, there's so much at the high level, like, where your deck might be hard, your deck might be easy, like, depends on matchup, depends on who you're playing against, depends on what you're playing against. There's so much variance involved that I think saying, like, certainly at the highest level, people are just going to play what they think gives them the best chance at making money. Like that is ultimately what people are doing. It doesn't matter if it's a hard or easy deck. Like they're just gonna play whatever they think is best.
How do we feel about Obelisk? Every single top tier deck is playing, which enables the toxic play pattern. I think I talked about in my ban live that I didn't. I think I said I didn't feel Obelisk needed to be banned, or I didn't think they were going to hit Obelisk. It is possible, but the only thing I like about Obelisk, even though it's in every deck because it's one of the few cards that makes going second feel palatable. And I think that's a flaw with the game, is that going second kind of sucks. So I kind of like that Obelisk gives us
and Obelisk
some
is
edge.
the only battlefield that makes it slightly less ass. Like
yeah, I do like that. Like we're getting to a point where the like decision making on going second has kind of been removed, and we're all just using Obelisk now. But I do like that there's something that gives you an edge going second. So Reaver's Row, I did agree. I think Reaver's Row is the thing I see going the most. Let's keep reprinting Ristic Study. But do you pay the one? That's the real question.
if you print Ristic Study into the game,
are you a pay one gamer?
Then suddenly this Miracle deck isn't really that good. Like
pay one is the pay one is like the self-governing test for Magic players. Like the people who do not pay the one cannot self-govern.
Well, in fairness, I think I don't know enough about CEDH, but from what I've been told, usually it's wrong to pay the one because like you're gonna tax yourself, whereas everybody else is gonna get ahead.
I mean, yeah, sure. Like it's like the oh god, what's that? The Kohlberg's moral scale. It's like the Kohlberg's moral scale.
What is this?
You can look it up.
No clue what this is.
Yeah, you look it up in
your free time. How does it spell the Kohlberg's
just type in or moral stages of development. I think it's what it's called. Kohlberg's moral stages of development. Is the Team Detonate guide on Metafy's Rossum's team, or is it a Rossum teams, or is it a random? Is the team? It's Rossum is on our team. Rossum is on our team. Prisoner's Dilemma is different, not the same thing. Although the Kohlberg's moral stages of development can be applied to it, I guess, but different thing. Do they just remove draw for going first to balance first versus second? I think if you do that, you have to make a full mole because, like, I don't know. It's hard. It's something I would have to test. I do want them to remove the draw going first, but I also think a full mole might, like, assist in some of this. I think just, the two mole is feels bad. The problem if you remove the draw
going first is, like, it just adds, like, another 6% or something of games that just don't happen because the turn one player missed a 2-drop. Like, that's not a good way to balance going first in the long run because it's just going to be like, oh, well, every single deck has to run 9 2-drops because they need to hit their 2-drop going first, and you no longer have a 5th draw to find it. Like, a bunch of games are going to be non-games because your opponent got to do nothing turn one, and then you basically got to steal going first, but now you're going first, and they feel really bad. It's like a whole fucking thing. I don't know if that's, like, I do think going first needs to be nerfed some way, or going second needs to be buffed some way, but if you remove a draw, like, it's already like 1 in 6 games where you just don't get to go first because you didn't draw a 2-drop. I don't think the solution to that is to make there more non-game.
Now everybody's more interested in explaining Ristic Studies to me. Yes, thank you guys. I don't play Magic, so I appreciate
Pumpkin
this.
Says I was right about CEDH. No one pays the 1 in CEDH because it sets you behind. It's all about comboing off first.
I agree. The play is way too advantageous. I know they're aware of this. I just don't know if they're interested in making a change to it. How they would make a change. The most obvious one is just removing the draw going first, but I still truly believe that like a full mole might be something they need to consider. But like if they don't nerf the draw power in this game, going first will be even more broken for the purple decks because they have all the draw power, all these draw power decks like Kaisa that can just draw a bunch or Draven, because now even though they lose the card, they have a way to circumvent that, whereas a lot of other leaders do not. So. Yeah, I mean, every game has changed the draw going first. The old Naruto TCG used to be able to draw going first. They took that away. Yu-Gi-Oh! Used to draw going first. They took that away. Like, drawing going first, bad. Like, there has to be some disadvantage. There's very few ways you can balance it. Clearly, the extra mana going second is not enough because the disparity between 2-drops and 3-drops power level is not high enough. So, what's the next thing you can do? You can take the card away. I still think you might need to consider offering a full mole if you do that, because it is going to be very punishing to, especially to slower decks. I think that might not play as high density as lower drops or like things to do in the early game, losing that card. But maybe that's it doesn't really matter what the trade off is. The two things I look at is the objective is to make first and second as close of a win rate as possible to one another. Doesn't matter if second is better or first is better, just how close is the win rate between the two and lessening that gap as much as possible. But you also don't want, by taking the card away, not having a full mole, you don't want to create unfun player experience where too many times the player going first is missing their turn one play because the format demands that they play a deck that can't miss their turn one play, and they instantly lose every time they miss their turn one play. But then if they go second and their opponent sees a turn one play, they lose because they went second. So again, just like balance, trying to walk that tightrope and get that win rate as close as possible between first and second. In the current game, if Called Shot was banned, what would take that slot in the current deck building theory? And these Miracle decks, like nothing. There's no...
Yeah, there's nothing as good as Called Shot.
Yeah, you're already playing all the draws you can, so... What if going first doesn't draw, but you can mull 3? Feels weird. At that point, just allow a full mull. Like,
why do we very awkward.
Yeah, it's just like...
Why do I have to keep one card? Why can't I just send all 4, please?
You just said it's not your job as a player to find these kinds of solutions. Okay. It's not my job. I come up with solutions, but it's not my job.
Yeah, but like people offer solutions. Like I can give my best.
I can offer solutions, but it's not my job to it's not my job to figure out what the solution should be. Like they can't come back and be like, well, players like. I think the philosophy is just supposed to be that the point of that Mark Rosewater quote is that devs should not be listening to their players for solutions. I can give my opinion, but devs shouldn't be going back and being like, well, the opinion of the public is that Called Shot's not actually the issue. It's Stack Deck, or it's Ezreal. And then you listen to that's what they want, so we're going to go with that. I think that's the sentiment of that quote. Yes, Force of Will Mole rules. What if the player on the draw gets an extra card? I don't think that does much. I don't think they're losing because they don't have enough cards.
Yeah,
I think
you're not losing
because
you're missing on cards. You're losing because you're behind on... I think you just said what I'm saying.
Yeah. You're losing because you're behind on tempo.
It's not the card.
Yeah, so like, okay, you're asking, well, Alex, then Daniel, if taking the card away from extra first, going first, fix that? It doesn't really. It's just another way to put them at a disadvantage. The tempo issue is still going to be there. We just need to give them some disadvantage. And what's more of a disadvantage, taking the card away from them? Let me look real quick.
How often? Yap for a bit while I look up the difference in odds.
Okay, you will still see the same number as cards as draw on going first, but you have less cards in hand. I don't know. I think it's more of a disadvantage. I would rather my opponent drew an extra card than me lose the card. That's how I would look at it, because when you're opening your opening hand, I need my most optimal turn one play, and giving my opponent an extra card does not make my optimal turn one play any less likely, whereas giving me one less card does. So I think that's the way.
So I just looked at the odds. It's like a 5% difference. So basically, currently right now it's about 1 in 6 games where you just skip your turn 1 because you didn't see a 2-drop. If you remove the extra draw, it goes up to like 1 in 5. So you're essentially just like, okay, the solution to the going first, going second disparity is that there should be 5% more bad games from the feel bad games for the guy going first, because I did my full mulligan, I didn't draw, and I missed the 2-drop, so I'm fucked.
So this is good. Something I want to bring back here is player sentiment about this is actually pretty good. There's a few bad comments in the beginning. Please don't let people ban lists set bad precedent. I mean, sure, there's a few people who are upset, but you can see a lot of people are very happy about the transparency, and I think we all agree this is a good step in the right direction.
Yeah, somebody said Victor always has a 2-drop. Yeah, Victor gets way better if you remove a draw going first. Someone's saying here pumping open for.
People are saying damn, rip our card values, but it's well, what if they just ban all commons? they could hit a deck, but like if
Well,
your
if you
deck was
hit
worth
Called
nothing.
Shot, it affects the cards around.
No, I understand, but like, what if they just banned a bunch of cards? Like, what if they banned cards like in a deck like that didn't matter, or like the cards in your deck are just easily playable? Like the card Kaisa Survivor, that card's going to be worth money forever. Like that card's value is probably not falling off a cliff. Like even Ezreal is probably not falling off a cliff. That card's very good. Seals, sure,
Yeah.
maybe, but I like that the one thing that was marked as probable spam was please ban cold shot. Like they're trying to like, shh. So yeah, so the sentiment is like it's a mixed bag here, but people are happy about the communication, and that I can say I agree with is that I am happy about the communication on Riot's part. So that's really cool.
Yeah, I like it when they keep us in the loop. That is
Yes.
preferred to the
Yes,
alternative.
and
which is
again, I won't say it's because
last-minute ban
Dave
lists
was
and
watching our stream for sure, but we know you got someone we know you got a needle in this haystack, Dave. You can't fool us. We know you're a fan. We know you've got your Challenger TCG hat hidden under your bed at home.
He's got the
in your
hat, he's got the
closet.
shirt on. He's like, please, Alex and Daniel, please tell me that I'm doing a good job. You know that I've made the right calls.
Seals are going to go up once we have an Eternal format. Yeah, I agree. If it is a tempo problem, would making it that they can't score battlefields until the first player turn 3 can't conquer. Well, then you fundamentally change the game a lot. Like that just changes how the game plays.
Sounds like a really fun format to play Aurora, not gonna lie.
Yeah, I don't know that you can do that. I mean, Aurora's a card I think should be banned, but what if they annex the combo of Call Shot plus Ezreal and just not the... That's even more complex. Like I've seen games do
like split them up where you can't play
no, yeah, they like Force Will has this now where they have a ban list where you can't play cards in combinations of one another. That's too confusing. Like it's extremely confusing, more so than just a regular ban list. I would avoid stuff like that. I think that's silly.
I mean, I think it is much better to simply ban Called Shot than say you can't run the two together.
Yu-Gi-Oh players are a different breed because I'm convinced you all have Stockholm Syndrome. You've subjected yourself to a game with poor communication, poor pricing, just like Konami has beaten you guys into submission over years and years and years, and now you've just come to expect what it is. And I mean, rightfully so. Yu-Gi-Oh is in the deepest hole it's ever been. I mean, singles are like the product is literally worthless. Like competitive singles still do well, but like, man, the product for that game is actual toilet paper. So Konami will have to get there. Like Konami got away with it for years because there was no competitor. There was just one Pokemon,
they were just
2 Magic, and 3
into the big
Yu-Gi-Oh.
3 because they were old.
Right, exactly. But like as these other games grow and people's interests wane and you give people other avenues, they will have to get their shit together or they will fall apart. So yeah. I think Yu-Gi-Oh players are the poster child for Stockholm Syndrome. Hey, at least the card game is bad, pricing is bad, and communication is bad.
Yeah, they're really consistent.
Yes, there is one thing is like at least with Yu-Gi-Oh you know exactly what to expect. There is no lie there. That is 100% true.
Bad and worse.
Yes, you know exactly what you're getting into. Like they're open and honest about that. So spend 1K on a competitive deck because it's the only playable deck in the format. Next set, your entire deck is worth less than Kindling. Yes, so
yeah, that sounds.
But at least you know
like
that.
The last time I was playing Yu-Gi-Oh,
at least you're aware of the situation. Like there's no shock. We're still kind of getting our sea legs here with Riot and how they're gonna do bans and their communications. So, yeah, I think this was a good step, and I'm glad it happened while we were on stream. That was pretty.
Yeah, it was perfect timing.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Beautiful. Could not have planned it better.
So I think we're getting to the end here. We've talked about the bans. We've gotten an update, so there's not much more to discuss here now. Reading this, what Dave had to say here, it sounds like the bans are coming. We just need to be patient. I have faith, believe it or not, despite all the trash I might talk. This is a good look. I know some of you anti-ban doomers are upset about this, but I promise you this is going to help the game. I promise you this is going to be better for the game overall. And I think I do hope that we don't. Yes, I don't want them to have to ban 10 cards every set, but I do
Yeah, that'd be
think this
brutal.
is a great step in the right direction. We'll just kind of have to wait and see what they actually end up doing. But I think we all know. I mean, you can see it. You can read this. Called shot is every other card mentioned here. We know what I would give you if you want me to open the dueling book odds. If you're betting on called shot to be banned, you're making like 1/10 of your money back. Like you're not getting anything.
Yeah.
So
I think it's the first card to go. I think I
yes,
hope that there are other cards that also go, but my wish list starts with Called Shot, and it only like there are a few other things I'd want from.
yes, please though. Seriously, ban Ferris Forerunner Riot. I hate that card. This is my personal bias as a Rek'Sai player, but that is
Yeah,
that's
that's
that's gonna do it for tonight, guys. I think we're gonna wrap up there. Thanks again for coming out, guys. I think we're gonna be back Wednesday. I'm gonna figure out a topic. If you guys have any topics you'd like to see us discuss on the live stream, feel free to DM me on Twitter, on Discord. If you're in our Discord, send me an idea. I'm always open to ideas. Usually Monday we do our review streams, but Wednesdays are kind of they're open topics. So if you guys have ideas, submit them to me. You might get lucky. Maybe I will put something on there. But anyways, guys, that's gonna do it for tonight. Thanks again. I
wait,
will
just
catch.
just one
Wait.
last thing for those of you that are in the Discord. Wait a few minutes, and me and Colin are going to be playing some Miracle Mirrors, the Detonate version
Sure.
versus
Miracle
the
Mirrors,
Noxus
yes,
plus
in the
Nocturne version. We're going to be trying to figure out which one we're going to be running at the upcoming CCS. So
yeah.
hop in the Discord, wait a few minutes, and we'll be going live on the stage soon.
All right. Thanks again, guys. We will.